let's start with the story that hasn't made headlines yet, but should. There's a deadly amoeba out there that can actually eat your brains. And over the next 20 minutes, we will break down what this brain-eating amoeba is, how it works, and most importantly, how to stay safe. First up, the numbers. Why is it really critical at this point? Now, Kerala has seen 18 people lose their lives to this deadly brain infection caused by this so-called brain-eating amoeba. Now, at least 67 people have been infected in the state. And these aren't just numbers. We're talking about a 47-year-old man from Malappuram who recently passed away in Kozhikode Medical Hospital there. There is a 56-year-old woman and a 52-year-old woman from Malappuram as well. A 45-year-old man from Wayanad, a 3-month-old infant from Kozhikode. And now, even a 9-year-old girl who has tragically lost her life against the infection. And it's not just Kerala, if that's what you thought it is. In Delhi, a 17-year-old student from Trivandrum got diagnosed after swimming in a pool in the Akkulam tourism village. The pool was, of course, immediately shut down. But why is the pool critical here? We'll tell you that in a moment. Let's first try and understand what is this disease. What is brain-eating amoeba? Here's everything you need to know. Now, it's called the primary Amoebic Meningoencephalitis, or PAM. I know it's a mouthful, but basically it's a rare and often deadly brain infection caused by the nasty amoeba. Now, the tiny culprit loves warm, sort of untreated water. Think ponds, lakes, rivers, or even swimming pools that aren't cleaned well. How does it get inside you? Well, the amoeba enters your body through your nose. Not your mouth, not your skin, remember, but your nose. When you swim or dive in contaminated water, water can rush into your nostrils, giving the amoeba a direct highway along the nerve responsible for your sense of smell and going right into your brain. Now, once it reaches your brain, it starts feeding on the brain tissue, literally eating it, and that's where the name brain-eating amoeba actually comes from. This causes severe inflammation, damage, leading to symptoms such as sudden, awful headaches, fever, nausea, vomiting, confusion, seizures, and eventually coma. Things progress rapidly, and without any quick treatment, it is usually fatal. Now, where is this amoeba found? Basically, places that you should totally avoid in this time of the year. Now, it loves warm, stagnant, fresh water. Places like ponds, lakes, slow rivers, swimming pools that aren't properly chlorinated. In fact, even chlorine doesn't affect the amoeba too much. So if you have been out for a swim, been at a hot spring or been to a resort, been in a jacuzzi of any sort, remember and watch out for these signs. A really bad headache, nausea or vomiting, confusion or difficulty in thinking, even seizures. If you feel any of this slightly and you've been exposed to fresh water recently, you need to get medical help immediately. But like we said, in this case of PAM, things escalate very quickly. So how do you protect yourself? Basically, avoid swimming or diving into warm, untreated fresh water. If you must swim, keep your head above water or even use nose clips to stop the water from going into your nose. Because remember, there is no easy cure here. Let's look at treatment next. Treatment involves powerful antifungal and antimicrobial drugs. But even then, survival is tough because the infection progresses so fast. That's why prevention is your best bet. Stay cautious, avoid risky waters, and don't delay if you start feeling symptoms after the exposure. The first few hours are extremely critical. Now remember, when it comes to PAM or this brain-eating amoeba, the infection may be rare, but it's serious. So a little awareness can go a long way in keeping you and your loved ones safe. All right, let's cut across to our guest now. And joining us is Dr. Wali. Dr. Wali has been watching this space for a while. I want to understand from him, where does it actually come from? He is also senior consultant in the Department of Medicine, former physician to the president as well. Dr. Wali, a lot of questions come to mind when you think of a disease like this. But the biggest of all is, I want to understand, we've seen almost 60 to 70 cases in Kerala being reported. We are now talking about 18 deaths, all in Kerala again. Could you help us understand if this situation is localized in that part of the country, or there is an aspect of it actually growing?
Well, you have given a very brilliant and extensive review, intelligently described. The question is very valid. Suddenly, where this has come from? And I would say, which I haven't told you when we were discussing, that there is a extensive tourism in cities like Kerala. So this could be an add-on factor. The global warming could be another factor. And third is what we say, unfortunate industrial pollution or somewhere leakages taking place. This quantity or number of cases which has been described with reference to Kerala is very high, very high. It means there is some contamination somewhere which has to be checked, number one. And since this is in multiple cities of Kerala, this is again eye opener. You see, this is a known amoeba which we were taught when I was a student in 70s that this exists in pools. That time we were the chlorination of pools were not very good and heating of the pools was not very prevalent. So till 2019, what I have got the statistics, only 24 cases have been reported, including Europe and America. Total 400 cases of this has been reported in the world, all countries combined. And now the better side of the story is, since we are exposed so much to the amoeba in our food contamination, we have some kind of resistance. The world over mortality is 98%, and in Indian statistics so far, the mortality was reported one-fourth of that, that is 24%. This amoeba, since it comes into the contact of fragile brain tissue is liquid at body temperature for the benefit of the audience. This fragile brain tissue, once some obnoxious bacteria or amoeba crosses the blood brain barrier, the nature has given three-layered protection, like we have VVIP security, three-layered, four-layered. So this let me, you have taken the PAM full form, Pan-Amoebic Meningoencephalitis. Let me tell the name, Naegleria fowleri. So this amoeba, which I was taught as Hartmanella, is almost same. These are nomenclature and identification pathologically, with a very high mortality, is obnoxious for the brain, and unfortunately, our medicines do not cross most of them blood-brain barrier unless we give them through the spine, through the spinal fluid. This is the cause of high mortality. And number two, your concern and your very right description makes me to say that this is a new addition to our already existing long list of diseases, which usually starting from Kerala part of India.
Yeah.
So this is all what is
Let me
happening.
bring in Dr. Neha Rastogi also in this conversation. Dr. Neha, the thing with this amoeba is, and what I found most fascinating, is the fact that if this were to enter your body through the mouth, that is, it gets into your gastrointestinal region, then it doesn't do much harm. Largely leads to like loose stools, etc. But if it is not going into your mouth, but if it enters your nose, then it's just lethal, because we don't know if there is enough medication out there. We have seen once diagnosed, it's largely leading to death, even in infants, even in young kids. So how does that really work? Dr. Neha, if you can hear me? All right, let's quickly check that line with Dr. Neha as well. Let me take that question to Dr. Vali. Dr. Vali, what is the difference? Why is it that when it enters our stomach, then the harm is not as much, but if it enters our nose, then it's straight away taking lives?
The stomach gets this infection every third or fourth person walking on the road has some amount of amoebiasis exposed to some part of his life. There is acid in the stomach which destroys the cysts, mind it. Then the cyst wall gets ruptured and this creates problem. The amoeba multiplies 1 in 2, 2 in 4 like that. It doesn't multiply very fast like bacteria. But even then, it causes inflammation of the bowel, loose stool, diarrhea, and mucus formation. We typically, when we were not testing so much about amoebic serology, our teachers used to teach us if the stool is slimy, mucus like what we have from the nose, then this is called amoebic colitis. Very common, very
Got it.
common. And this
Got it.
produces reflux acidity. The nose has got a barrier which is called a cribriform plate, like the sieve of the tea strainer, through which the nerves come. There are 12 to 20 branches of the olfactory nerve which senses the smell. And along that, there is a layer of the very thin layer of the brain fluid also descends down. And this is a very fragile area, very fragile. Like you cut a little extra of the nail, you have pain. With that, you can't see with naked eye how much cut nail is there
Got
to give you
it.
pain. Very small
Got
amount
it.
of the nail, जिसको हम कहते हैं कच्चा नाखून कट गया. So this
Yeah.
area is very fragile, very sensitive, through which these clever amoebic trophozoites can climb. Because of that, once they reach the brain, they cross the blood-brain barrier, they settle in the brain substance and produces nuisance. And unfortunately, in the brain, because they get a ready-made nutrition, its brain is rich in cholesterol and very good blood circulation, they multiply very fast. And therefore, they create a irreversible brain damage. And unfortunately, doctors also suspect it very late unless you teach us and alarm us
Got
and
it.
educate us. So we
Yeah.
also would do amoebic test in the brain fluid very late. So normally we do test for viral meningitis, TB meningitis, which is very common in India and other forms. Now we have a biofire which probably does not include amoebic detection unless we do specific IgG, IgM of amoeba in the cerebrospinal fluid. We can't diagnose this. It's a
Got
difficult
it.
diagnosis.
It's a
And the
difficult
typical
diagnosis indeed,
signs,
but perhaps
yeah.
or you have to go back to seeing where the symptoms started and if you were exposed to water, and that seems to be the only way to find that out as well. Dr. Neha, if you could hear me this time around, I'm just trying to understand very clearly, why do all these infections come from Kerala? I've found it very hard to believe. Kerala keeps saying that it's because we are testing more. Was it, if it's COVID, it's Rika, it's whatever virus is sort of really, Nipah virus as well, whatever virus you think of, any disease you think of. Why is Kerala such a hub? I'm trying to understand, is it the geographical position? Is it the weather pattern? Is it exposure to backwaters, which is still... is it because people who are living on the coast need to be more careful, but there are other states also which are on the coast? Why only Kerala? Just make sense of this to me, please.
Right. So I think if you have an answer that all of the above, I would have mentioned that actually, what you have just spoken about. So usually the Kerala, not only the coastal area, if you see the Alleppey, the backwaters. So this, when we talk about the free living amoebae or the Naegleria, and for that matter, there are other species, etc. They usually thrive in more of the water springs area, the warm water, the areas where there is a bit tide between the high coast and the low coast, those areas which have a lot of geothermals and the hot springs. So usually it does not come in the sea. We are not talking about the sea water thing. We are talking about where there is a warm pools, rivers, and small lakes and the dams. So there the Kerala's are little more richer in that, because we all know about the backwaters, as you have also mentioned. There are a lot of temperate forest areas which have a lot of pools and ditches in between. There are a lot of spaces. And third, of course, I would say that coming from the Kerala, apart from being the temperate zone and everything, also because of course the initial few cases have been reported, so their diagnostic system is circulated in that way, of course, that they have started checking it more oftenly. But of course, talking about that, we do have 1 or 2 cases reported in last 10 years, even from the North India as well. However,
Hmm.
the most of the cases are still being reported from the South
Hmm.
India. I've just mentioned the reasons.
Got it. Dr. Neha, also help me understand this. So, for people who are still going out to swim, to perhaps places which are taken care of, is chlorine or chlorination of water enough to keep this amoeba at bay?
I would say that, there are three things important in that. Apart from the adequate chlorine content, as I have mentioned, that swimming pools or the splash pads are the most common causes, which is there.
Hmm.
And the typically chlorinated content has to be really good. Apart
Hmm.
from that, wherever you have a stagnant water, you don't have
Hmm.
much circulation and you're not doing it well cleaning. There is a lot of algae involved on the surfaces, so when we talk about the micromanagement with the chlorine, even the macro cleaning itself is very important. When you have an artificial made geothermals or water springs, a lot of times we'd go to Manikar and other places like that where you have a hot springs and you enjoy in this weather. There, it's very important to keep up the water supply in the circulation because
Hmm.
these amoebas, they thrive on the stagnant water. So chlorine is one content. Second content, of course, is the regular change of the water supply or the regular pooling in and pooling out of those water into the system.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and then the third thing is too much of warm water because
Hmm.
these amoeba, as I mentioned previously, also they don't thrive in the sea water because there is constant tides coming, there constant waves
Hmm.
coming, and you are
Still
taking off the
water. Hmm.
initial water. So the still water, if it is there, that also needs to be keep in changing and in circulation.
So when you say still water, do you mean in community jacuzzis or in community places where there is a pool, etc.? One needs to be careful, even if you're in the north. I don't want to like sound alarm bells and say it's everywhere and everybody should stop, just going for a swim straight away because it is that time of the year. There is hand, foot, mouth in kids. There is H3N2. We just did a show on that on Friday. And then there is this. So this is generally the time of the year. Would you say that people should stay away from any kind of water activity? Would that be fair to say?
No, 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 not at all. The idea to pitch is about the care and about the more awareness. So when you
Hmm.
say that when you're going, you are a good pool activity user, your kids are going, you're going
Hmm.
for jacuzzis or spas, even we go also as a method of recreation. The only basic purpose is how clean are they? They are not
Hmm.
stagnant, they are keep clean because a lot of authorities they keep intact information in terms of that they do it weekly cleaning or a bi-weekly
Hmm.
cleaning or even a fortnightly cleaning depends upon the volume of the usage of that area for the most of the people. And then the
Hmm.
second thing, which obviously is a very important matter, is your own personal hygiene. So, for example, just a bare minimum. When we know about those stagnant places, we go and go in the pools just for the enjoyment purpose. At
Hmm.
least just nasal clipping. That's just a basic may or a modality
Yeah.
just to have prevention. Second and
Yeah.
third thing is, as we have just mentioned about the epidemiological and geographical differences,
Hmm.
usually in our places right in the north and the west zones, they don't have much of those stagnant water areas or the warm springs as compared to down there in the south, coastal
Hmm.
areas and seas. So that way, I would say the more inclination of having that there is there, as we have just discussed in terms
Got
of the
it.
weather
Hmm.
profile.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
only the just basic hygiene, changing
Hmm.
of at least the water, keeping the chlorinated content up to the mark are bare minimum which we can do anywhere.
Which we can do anywhere. I have last few minutes. I just want to bring in a quick word from Dr. Vali. Dr. Vali, a lot of places in North India just had flooding situations. We saw it in Delhi as well. A lot of water was flooded. You saw it in Uttarakhand, in Himachal, even in Jammu and other places. So is flooding, because now water is stagnated, a lot of it has not retreated, are those areas also to be kept in mind, carefully sort of seen if you, I mean, one thing is obviously do not take a dip in those waters, but there is a chance that the amoeba could actually be flourishing in those areas as well?
Well, if it is migrated from the place where it is prevalent right now, there is a possibility. I would add one thing, very important thing, that children and adults, even I have seen, there are rules for the pools. Take a shower, and that shower means clean your genitals, clean your hips, clean your area which is pelvic area, clean your armpits also, Of course, now I would say clean your nose before, rinse your nose before jumping into. That hygiene has to be observed, because if
Yeah.
someone is harboring another amoeba, that might mutate into the water later on. This is
Yes.
one possibility. I have seen, I have gone to the best pools in Delhi and abroad also. People don't take care of hygiene while
That's true.
going to the pool. This is one
Yep.
important. And there is a possibility in stagnant water, it will grow. And I have raised this point, industrial pollution has to be checked. If the water
Yeah.
is polluted from the industrial waste or industrial pollution which is invisible, so you supply that water into the pool. Pool में लोग सोचते हैं ये ordinary water है, बस नहाने के लिए पीने के लिए नहीं है. Pool water is very important for the health. It is touching your eyes, touching your mouth, touching your body and other areas of the skin. Pool
Those are
water
important points.
sanitation is
Yep.
equally important as drinking water sanitation. Don't just check the chlorine in that water. See the details of the water content, microbes, microscope, under the microscope, fungus. What are the contaminants? Many people do unsavory things in the swimming pools. I have seen myself, even educated people, foreigners even I
Yep.
have seen. So they should know
Yeah, I take your point, Dr. Wali, that,
what we are
the
doing to
basic
prevent
sense of
that.
hygiene when it comes to any water exposure has to be watched out, especially this time of the year, and perhaps from what you're saying across, all year round as well. Dr. Neha Rastogi, Dr. M. Wali, thank you both for joining us and shedding light on what this brain-eating amoeba is all about. Currently, most of the cases are found in Kerala, but you've got to be careful because this could actually spread anywhere.